Musings to the Muse. We sit there staring at each other, constantly turning or facing one another. It's like two sides of a coin, like we were almost adjoined. Then I go to open my mouth, and it's your voice that comes out, all blooming and bold, all ancient and old, like a forgotten forest full of trees. Your voice, wild, flows through me, and while the words are still my own, you've shown you hold dominion. This is your throne. Earth, rock bottom. The floor rises up quickly, quicker than you thought was possible, but gravity rides everything down too. It sits on your back and pushes, and then you were there, on the floor, barely able to move, barely able to breathe. How did it feel to have nothing to lose again? How did it feel to have nothing? Is it comforting to know that there's nothing else? Or is it stressful to have nothing? Did it feel like the lowest you could go? Grounded. To feel solid earth under your feet, to feel it undermined. No shifting, so that I may sit grounded for once. I just want to be able to weather the storms as they come, and they will, but for now it would be nice to sit and be grounded. And when the lightning strikes, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me at all, because I'll be grounded. When the wind blows hard enough to knock down power lines, I'll be safe, grounded. When the storms come rolling through, as they always do, I'll be ready, because I'll be grounded. You see me in my little house when you visit, and when you ask if it ever stops shaking, I'll tell you yes, the ground did. Dirt. When I say I'm dirty, I mean I am of the earth. I live in the dirt, I play in it, I bathe in it. I wear it as a mark of pride sometimes, but mostly I just wear it. It covers my clothes and the ground I walk on. We are, and will continue to be, one. We all go back to the dirt in the end. We all go back to the dirt. We all become dirt in the end. We all go back to the dirt. Yes, we absolutely do, my friend. We all go back to the earth. Oh, yes, be prepared, my friend. We all end up in a hearse. Mother will eat us whole in the end. She will take us back to the ground. Mother will turn us into food in the end. She will make sure we are found. Mother will make us into trees, my friend. We will grow out of the ground. We will all be dirt in the end. No better fate around. Quake. When everything comes crashing down and your house trembles while it quakes, just remember the times when I was around. The world aflame breaks. And we broke with it too. No easy feat at all. You survived when the fire blew. You'll survive the fall. And when your house comes crashing down and everything around you is dirt, you look back and see the truth and all of those you hurt. Look back and see the flames, the ash, the pain. Look back and see it all, absolutely in plain. You see the dirt for what it is. Nothing but nothing but nothing. You see the dirt for what it is. Nothing but nothing but nothing. Alright, here we go. We're jumping right into this one. It's morning. I've had the coffee. I've had my little time to relax. I did my stretches, my morning stretches, and we're ready to go here. We're finally ready to go. Earth. We're talking about Earth today. Oh, by the way, welcome back. to the podcast. This is episode 7, I believe, of Musings with the Muse. This is a podcast about words, where we talk about words. Mostly my own words, but maybe we'll get to the point where we start talking about other people's stuff. However, I'm not really there yet. You gotta be in a whole different mindset than when I'm in to sit back and talk about other people's shit. You know what I mean? Because I'm so critical of like my own stuff a lot of times. I wouldn't want to give that treatment to anybody else's stuff, honestly. Even if it's like music and stuff, I don't really want to be critical because I might be a bit mean, you know. I mean to myself. I really am. You should listen to the type of shit I tell myself when I'm recording stuff. And I record it. Like if I mess up on a recording, I'll literally just be like, "You stupid mother, you stupid mother." Can you read the words on the page? Can you read? I gotta post some of that shit. It's actually mind boggling how mean I am to myself. And I play it back and I'm just like, all right, me, all right, past me. We could do better this time. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's fun. I just beat myself up a lot when I record, so it's kind of fun, kind of funny, I guess as well. But one of these days, I'm gonna play some of that for y'all, so you can hear the type of nonsense I tell myself when I'm recording, and it's fun because I can just say it and then it's there, and then I play it back, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's good, that's good idea. Yeah, keep that energy going. Yeah. So right now we're gonna talk about Earth. We're here to talk about Earth. You've already heard it at the beginning of the episode, of course. Um, this is the fourth track on the album, my album, The Elementalist, which you can also listen to here. There'll be a link in the comments to both the poem and the whole album. And yeah, you can just sit back and listen to that whenever you want. It's on YouTube as well. So yeah, let's get right into it then. Earth starts with rock bottom. And like I said, just to reiterate, the format of the podcast is going to be talking about themes in the first part and then technique in the second part. So if you're only interested in the themes, here you go. We're talking about themes. If you more want to talk about the words on the page and the phrasing and the way I, talk about stuff more on a technical level, that's gonna come later on in the podcast episode. So I feel like this way, it makes sense to me to decompartment, decomp, decompartmentalize. It's just so many syllables, bro. I gotta think about it. It's such a big word. It's so many syllables. I gotta think about each syllable in the word. I can't just say it like that. It takes a lot of processing powers. And it's not like a complicated. It's a very complicated word, but it's not a hard word to understand. You know what I mean? Or there's no like weird pronunciation. It's just a really long, like there's a lot of pieces like compartment, and then you have a live, and then you have the D. But compartment by itself is 3 syllables. Decom decompartmentalize. That's a lot of syllables. And you try to say that smooth off the tongue. Anyway, that word, I like doing that because it separates it and it helps my mind focus on each part of it. Because if I'm just going back and forth, I can do it part by part, but I feel like that wouldn't be as organized. Like my thoughts would just be jumping back and forth. Like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. At least I'm focused on one part of it this way. And like I said, if you listen to any of the episodes before this, I kind of go off on tangents every once in a while. So it happens. It happens. You can't do nothing about it. That's just the brain. The brain does what it wants to do. You can rein it in, but you still gotta let it flow. Gotta let it flow. It's flowing and then reining in. You gotta do both those things at the same time. Especially if you're writing, that's good advice right there. Flow, and you gotta rein it in though, because sometimes you go too hard with the flowing, and you might have to take a step back and be like, okay, let me rein it in. Let me bring it back to the original thing that we were working on, and that work for tangents, but also work for writing as well. I think at least the way I write. Sometimes I do all the shit in one sitting, and then but it's still like a process of okay, pause here, rein it in. All right, let's reconvene maybe at a later time if we can't rein it in. Can't bring back the brain to where it needs to be. You might have to reconvene. Most of these have been done over multiple sessions. So it's like I will finish. I start like Earth, then I'd be like, okay, rock bottom, finish that. Next day, next 2 days, 2 days pass. I'm at work again. I pull out my phone because I'm doing all this shit at work. Like I said, I finished most of this album, the writing for it when I was at work. And I'm working self checkout at a supermarket at this time. I'm just like, bitch, this job is so easy. I got my mind, and I'm still crushing my job, but I'm just on my phone typing shit, and then the customer calls me over. I deal with that shit, and I go back to typing on my phone. And people ask me, are you busy? You chatting? No, I'm writing, bro. What do you think this is? You think I'm just chilling over here? You think I'm chatting with people? You got people to chat to? All my friends are at work for a little bit longer, you know? Unless it's like 8 o'clock. All my friends are done at work at that point. I'm the only person at work at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock that I know. I'm the only person who be staying late. What did I say about tangents? Anyway, rock bottom. Rock bottom. Here we go. This this poem's fun because it's basically the theme of it is that I'm talking about like being at the bottom. Whatever your bottom looks like, whatever your bottom looks like, if you ever been there, then you might be able to relate to it, because you're just like, oh, can I even go any lower? I think that's the big takeaway from that. Like I was on the bottom. This is basically like me. I feel like my rock bottom was like when I got back to New York after I got divorced because at that point I had been drinking nonstop basically. Like when I left Washington, I basically just drank the whole time. I drank the whole time. And the whole time I was in Washington. And then, especially at the end, because at the end I was slamming. Because, okay, funny thing that happened to me is that I was working a job at this point, and yeah, so they closed down and gave me a lot of wine. I could talk about it now. I had to sign an NDA actually. That's the first NDA I ever had. Probably the first and the last NDA I'm probably gonna sign in my life. But yeah, I had to sign an NDA for that spot because it was like it was a big a big wine group that I was working for. I was in one of their tasting rooms, and tasting room wasn't doing as well as I guess they wanted to, so they were closing it down. But they didn't want people to go out there and say, "Oh, the company's failing, blah blah, it's closing down tasting or whatever." So we weren't able to talk about it for like a year basically at all. Not to I wasn't really able to talk about it anyway. I didn't really have anybody to go talk to about it with. Like who am I gonna talk to about it? Who cares? Who cares about my opinion? I literally just started there. But anyway, I signed the NDA, so I couldn't really talk about it at all. But yeah, it was like a wine tasting that I was in. Excuse me. And yeah, they gave me a lot of expensive wine when I was leaving. So I was literally like, I got divorced and I was just drinking like champagne and like basically I was drinking champagne and like $100 of bottles of Pinot Noir. I drank as much as I could because I couldn't take everything with me. So I was like, I'm just take 2 bottles with me, 2 beautiful bottles of Pinot Noir, maybe 3. I don't know. I can't even remember how many it took. But anyway, yeah, I took some Pinot Noir. I know I took the Pinot Noir because that was some good shit. But anyway, yeah. So that happened. And yeah, when I got back to New York, I was just like, just still drinking, of course. This is before I floated down and eventually quit. Um, but yeah, this is definitely about that time period then. Um, but gravity rides everything down too. That's probably a modest mouth reference. If you know, you know. It sits on your back and pushes on the floor, barely able to move it. So it's kind of like I'm saying, if you've been here, you maybe relate. If you haven't been here, then God bless. God bless you. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be in this place that I'm talking about right now, in this piece right now. You definitely don't want to be there. That idea, did it feel like the lowest you could go? Um, that's an interesting and scary thought to me because at the end of the day, it's like, could things have gotten worse? Not by much. No, I don't think. I hope not. But it's a scary thought when you sit back and you're like, I have nothing, but could it be worse? And there's this point about it. Is it something to know that there's nothing else, or is it stressful to have nothing? It's kind of like once you lose as much as I've lost in my life, just like physical possessions, but also just time and energy and all that loss that I've experienced in my lifetime. Once you've gotten to that point where you lose everything you have multiple times, it's like, what else can happen to me? Nothing else can happen to me at this point. I don't have anything to lose, and I still basically I don't own that much stuff. And I've never kind of gotten to the point after that point where I've ever accumulated that much stuff that wasn't like functional. Like I have a camera, but I was using that to streaming. I was using that to take pictures. I was using that for art. I have a computer, and use a computer. I'm a gamer. I've been recording YouTube. I've been doing all sorts of stuff. So I use that for work. These are both work tools for me. But beyond that, I don't really have a lot of stuff that I would say is fancy or expensive or anything. Even the computer is not really all that expensive anymore. At one point when I got it, it was like a good computer, but now it's like fading out, and I gotta update it eventually. When I get some stacks, I gotta update it, of course, upgrade or whatever. So we're gonna get there eventually, hopefully. But yeah, so it's like once you get to that point, it's kind of hard to be like, what? I wasn't really afraid of nothing at that point. Honestly, that's how I felt. Is it comforting to know that there's nothing else? Yeah, it kind of is, because I don't have anything else to lose at that point. That's what rock bottom is to me. Rock bottom is like the bottom. It's it's scary to be there, but at the end of the day, you're like, what else can happen to me? Nothing. There's nothing that can happen to me except somebody come in my house and shoot me. You know, something random and crazy like that. But there's nobody wants to steal my identity. I have no money. What are you gonna steal? You can't even open a credit card in my name, bro. What are you gonna steal my identity for? What you gonna do with that? Take it. Take it and give me back a better one, bro. If you steal my identity at this point, you're probably giving me back a better one. I'm probably gonna be like, okay, look, they did this. What about this credit card? I had no idea, but I had no idea about this credit card at all, bro. Fix it. Take it off. Take it off. Take it off. Right? Sometimes you just lose so much. It's like, bro, what else can I lose? Some people haven't really experienced that, obviously, and it's kind of like it's sad when life gets like that for most people. However, for me, it felt liberating. I was like, I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose, bro. And you see people who say that sometimes. It's like a movie trope. Oh, this person has nothing to lose, so they're gonna be dangerous and reckless. They've lost everything, so it's just like a John Wick type moment when you kill his dog. He ain't got nothing else, bro. You gonna be mad as hell. He's coming after you, bro. You know what I mean? Don't kill that man. Don't shoot that man's dog. Was that the smartest decision? That was the dumbest decision they made that day for sure. Coming after John Wick at all, it's a bad idea in that case. But it's kind of like that. You put somebody and look at them and say, "There's nothing to lose." I didn't say I went on a rampage. I didn't, but it was very freeing for me to just have nothing else. Like, what else can happen to me at this point? You know what I mean? That's the idea of the poem. I think is that sometimes it's like you lose everything, and then you're like, okay, it's only up from here at this point. There's nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go but up. You know, and that was the lowest. The definitely lowest I've ever been. Is it the lowest I could have gone? Absolutely not. Especially because after that I stopped drinking, but I could have kept drinking and it would have gotten worse and worse, and I probably would have drank myself to death in New York, which is very possible because I was on COVID leave. I was on quarantine for like 2 years. Basically, I was on quarantine because I couldn't work. I lived with my aunt, and she works in the hospital. So I was like, I'm not working. I'm not gonna get sick and bring that shit right into work and everybody else sick. Because my coworkers were younger. So most of my coworkers, they're like some older people, you know, not in the greatest health either. And the thing about me is that I had already gotten it way early on before everybody knew it was COVID. So I was basically like one of those people who got it early on, haven't gotten it since then, got my vaccine and shit, and I've been COVID free ever since then. God bless, God willing. But at the same time, it's still like I didn't want to get sick because I figured for me, my symptoms the first time I got it were very, very slight. Like, if I wasn't at a wine tasting, literally sniffing a glass of wine saying, oh wow, there should be more here than that. What's going on? I'm looking at, so, it's a fun story. I'm looking at a wine tasting event. I'm slipping rose. It should have like big, bright cherries and strawberry flavors coming at me. And it's very muted. It's very muted. And I go to the glass and I sniff it and I'm like, interesting. Cool. Next glass. Interesting. Nothing there either. Not a whole lot. It wasn't like nothing. Like I could still taste, but the scent was like muted, just enough where I would notice it. Like there should be way more here. So then I thought it was something weird going on. So I took like a couple of days where I was just hanging back to myself. I had a couple of days off from work in a row too, so it's like cool. And then when I got back to work, I was just hanging out. And then like 2 days, and then like a week after that, my senses come back. That's when I realized that I had COVID because that's when they announced that as one of the symptoms that um yeah you're gonna lose your sense of taste and sense of smell. And one of my friends lost hers completely, bro. Like she couldn't taste and she was miserable, bro. And I'm sitting there, I could still taste stuff. I was like, wow, bro. So after that, I just made sure I was trying to eat healthy, trying to do whatever I could to keep that up because I didn't want to get sick and lose my sense of smell because honestly, that was work. Like I said, I was at work and I figured it out because I'm a Somali. Yeah, I need to have my sense of smell, I need to have my sense of taste. Those are crucial to the job that I do. So I really can't be losing that because I love food. I love food. I love my taste buds. They're very good taste buds. You know, olfactory speaking, very strong. Olfactory senses, the senses are very strong in this one, if you must know. Um, So yeah, we were talking about the bad things that happened, COVID. And yeah, it kind of got to that point where I had to like keep myself doing good because at the end of the day, well, COVID was scary, like I said, but I was on quarantine for so long. And my big problem with quarantine is that I didn't want to drink myself to death. That would have been, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I didn't want to go down that path where things just got worse and worse and worse. So, rock bottom for you might be different from rock bottom to somebody else. Rock bottom for me, it might not look like rock bottom to you. Yours might be worse, might be better. If it's better, then God bless, I guess. But I don't know. Mine's pretty weird. So this next piece, grounded. This is kind of like the antithesis of the air pieces. So air and earth, you might get the idea that they're competing with each other, and they are. They are, because air is talking about like being blown away and being breathless, and then earth is like, do I want to be grounded? How do I get there? You know what I mean? How do I get to that point where I am grounded, and what does that look like? At least grounded, the poem itself is more about that. To feel the solid earth under your feet, to feel it under mine, no shifting, so that I may sit grounded for once. Talking about being grounded, and then you always bring it back. Every paragraph, I bring it back to the grounded idea because it's like boom, boom, boom. You step out and then you're grounded. Step out and you're grounded. Step out and you're grounded, and it's like you're kind of returning back to that part. Especially though, the takeaway line is when the wind blows hard enough to knock them off. And I know this kind of get into like the the technical stuff, but important to the theme too, because it's like when the wind blows hard enough to knock down power lines, I'll be safe grounded. That's literally a direct line that kind of interact with air that you would have heard before this one on the album. So you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a throwback to that last. Yeah. So air and earth could probably tell. I kind of wrote them back to back, if you couldn't tell. So I mean, I wrote them in the same state of mind. Rather, it's maybe not back to back because I was jumping back and forth a lot of writing during this time period. So I wasn't really necessarily doing everything at the same time, but it was like I was definitely busy during this time period of my life where I was just writing all the time. I was writing different things, I was writing about different things, and I all over the place. Um, I do like this last part. You see me in my little house when you visit, and when you ask if I ever stop shaking, I'll tell you yes, the ground did. And so we'll come back to that line at the end where we talk about quake, because that ties in to that part about the quake. Like there's a constant shaking going on, and at some point you get grounded. I'm talking about both those aspects of it, where you're grounded. You physically could be grounded to something, but your body could still be shaken, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about there. Is that yeah? We'll get back to that part in quick. Dirt is a lot of fun. Dirt is kind of like a declaration, I want to say, that, well, I feel like there's a lot going on here, and at some point I'm going to have to, like, break this up. It looks like, because it's like, on the page itself, it's at the end of the page, so it loops over the next page, and where I'm reading this on, I can't really, like, I should probably get a better setup where I can like have the poem up on my phone, but that doesn't really help because I gotta look down. I don't really want to look down. I just want to look forward and be able to talk freely about what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna have some scrolling here to do. I could do it with my yeah, but even then, that's crazy to scroll with that because then you're like scrolling with the keyboard is um, not the best way to do it, but it allows me to keep my mouse on the table with the microphone right now. It's a very wobbly end table, not even end table, like a TV tray, like a round TV tray I'm using right now for my microphone and my mouse. Um, this is when I wish I was left-handed. I could have my mouse on the left hand. I could, I could potentially use my left hand. Like I'm not like left hand. My left hand is pretty useful, you know. It's not like a useless left hand. I just don't use it regularly. But my mouse is right-handed, so and I'm not gonna buy a left-handed mouse just so I could use it during this one piece of time when I'm doing this. But yeah, my mouse is right-handed, so I'm not gonna get you know a second mouse because I don't want to use my other hand all the time because it's on table the way I'm set up right now. But um, yeah, so sorry, I got a cough drop in my mouth. I got like cool my throat as I talk too much and it starts hurting. Um, But yeah, when I say I'm dirty, I mean I am of the earth. I live in the dirt. I play in it. I bathe in it. I live in occupied stuff. This is somebody literally like, oh, you guys think dirt is bad, huh? Being dirty is bad, but I'm like proud to be, you know. And I feel like dirt. When you think about dirt, when you think about like dirt, it's talking about like being broke, being poor, being in poverty, living in poverty, you know? And I'm saying, it's not anything I can do about it, at this point, you know? So sometimes you gotta suck it up. Sometimes you will be in the dirt sometimes, you know? Sometimes you just gotta be who you are, especially in America. And I feel like there are a lot of people who can maybe relate to this in terms of like, you know, people just being poor and like not necessarily, surviving that is incredible. Surviving poverty is incredible. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of, willpower. It's just not, you know, end it sometimes, I guess. I mean, that's the only way. It's either survive or die. So when it gets down to those two options, sometimes it's hard to say, do I really want to do this every day forever? Hold on, I gotta put on my brace. I gotta put on my brace for my wrist right now. Jeez, I don't know what I did. Probably just too much League of Legends earlier. That's usually what it is. I don't see why today would be any exception. Trying to put this on real quick. Hold on. This is fun. So I'm doing it with my right hand because my left hand is the one that's hurting right now. But you would think that it would be easier with my dominant hand to put on the brace, but it's not because I had more practice doing it with my left hand, which is fun. And it's usually if I'm hurting, it's gonna be my right hand because I use it more. But the left hand also hurt because I play League of Legends, and I'm stupid for playing League of Legends sometimes. I know it's a game that I shouldn't be playing more so, but it's what I do. I still play League of Legends, and I'm not bad. I'm old, so I gotta, you know, take care of my wrists every once in a while. So, okay, I feel a lot better now with the brace on. So, I think the pressure on it is good. It just feels better when you put a bit of pressure on it, and just leave it on for a bit, and it normally feels a bit better. But anyway, talking about dirt and like, kind of like when you live in poverty, it's like it's rough, but it's still not, you know, what else can you do? And I think it takes a lot to live through that. I think it takes a lot to be poor. Definitely a lot more definitely a lot more stressful to be poor than it is to be rich. I mean, if you say it like that, then obviously, you know. So I'm not the type of person I'm gonna feel bad about it. You can't make me feel bad about being poor. It's not my fault. You know, it's not my fault. You know, I go to job. I go to a job. I work. I get paid just like everybody else does. So at the end of the day, it's like what's the difference between a rich man and a poor man? It's the job that they do. That doesn't make any sense. Why do I have to live in the dirt? I live in the dirt, but why do I have to do that? And is it my choice? No. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean I'm gonna give up just because I have no choice in the matter. And you could give up. So I think wearing it as a mark of pride is something that people should be doing. Life is hard, bro. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some. Have pride that you are surviving this this world that we live in, because it's rough, bro. It's really rough, and don't don't let people take that away from you either. I think that's the important. That's an important part of this is that don't let people take that away from you. It's hard to be alive right now. It's hard. It's not easy to be alive right now. Especially if you're poor. If you're poor, it's even worse. I mean, the world is literally on fire. So being poor when the world's on fire, they won't even throw the water on you, bro. You think they're gonna throw out water's gonna be so precious? And it already is, but water's gonna be so precious? You think they're gonna throw water on you to put you out? Huh. If you're poor? Best believe they won't. Best believe they won't. So just keep that in mind moving forward. Don't be paranoid about it, but to keep it in mind is that water's gonna be so precious. They ain't gonna throw water on you to put you out. The whole world's on fire, bro. You think they really care about you? You poor ass mother, mother. I'm not gonna say that. This part kind of. So the next part is the part where I'm singing in dirt. I love this part. It's a lot of fun to sing. I like singing. I do a lot of singing, just in general. But I do like this part when I'm singing. We all go back to the dirt in the end. It's like a nursery rhyme, basically, and it's like it's reminiscent, I would say, of like those nursery rhymes where it's like it's a nursery rhyme, but it's like really dark. Like most nursery rhymes are really dark. Um, there's a couple, but all of them are really dark. I don't really want to think about them too much. My brain is a blank too, so if I wanted to write it down and look it up, but just like one about like the Black Plague, I think it's like the plague. We all fall down, ashes, ashes. That one, that's about the Black Plague. Like that's what people were singing about. They were singing to their kids about that shit. How dark is that? You think my shit is dark? Nah, bro. They used to sing to kids about the Black Plague and everybody dying and ashes and shit. Ashes, ashes. We are falling. Literally about that. London Bridge is falling down. All that shit. All that shit's about that. You know. So this one's not even all that bad, honestly, in relation to if you think about it that way, then it's not even all that bad really. What am I talking about? I'm talking about death, but it's like it's death, but I feel like when you're poor, and this is going back to that dirt in the end, we all go back to dirt in the end. So when you die, you turn, they put you in the ground, and you eventually become a ground, you know, and it's basically the idea is that we're all gonna die, right? So just keep that in mind. We're all gonna die. Not to be morbid, but when you look at it from a perspective of we're all gonna die, and then potentially speaking, it's a cycle of life that we're gonna turn into a tree. It's kind of freeing, and I'm trying to focus on the idea of it being like a freeing experience, that death. But also, if you haven't had anything in your life, like if you're already covered in dirt, death doesn't, it's not as scary to you because it's like, I don't have a lot going on right now. I don't have any money. I don't have the right stuff to where the world just like, telling me I'm doing the right stuff and giving me positive feedback by throwing money in my face. Yeah, no. I don't have any of that shit going on. So, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, when I die, it's the equalizer. And plus, I don't care about it. I'm already dead, right? It's the equalizer. Everybody, we all go back to the dirt in the end. We all go back to the dirt. It's kind of like that theme of being dirty, and also we're all gonna be dirty in the end. You know what I mean? We're all gonna be dirty in the end. We're all gonna be dirt in the end. And yeah, that's just a fun. It's not fun. It's a fun idea, and I think singing is fun. So I think I did a good job with the singing part too. Don't at me in the comments. I don't care. I'm done. I'm done with the piece. So say whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care what you say about it. Honestly, could insult me? No, don't insult me because it's gonna be wrong, and I'm gonna let you know you're wrong. Maybe I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun. So yeah. So and the end part of it, Mario will make us in the tree, my friend. We will go out of the ground. We will all be dirt in the end. No better fate around. That part is kind of just, it hammers it home. It's like a like the like the ending of the London Bridge. Is it London Bridge? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down, London Bridge. But I think it's a whole another nursery rhyme. But London Bridge falling down. That's literally, that's what they saying about. They saying about bridges falling down, and it's kind of like a verbal a verbal like history basically. Like you don't forget it, right? When you put it in a song, it's harder to forget stuff. That's why we're singing nursery rhymes from the 1900s, still, because it's all about passing down that information of what happened. And the easiest way to do it is put a melody behind that shit, bitch. Put a track behind that. Put some drums behind that shit. People will remember it better if you put some drums behind it. Put a little flute in there if you want. Make it a song. Make it singable. That's the best way to record history, I think. Put it in song. Now, would I say that now? Maybe, because like you look back and looking back at like the quote unquote great poets, I'm talking about like Homer, right? Like we still talk about him and historical his historical pieces, but at the end of the day, it's just a story. But it's based in some history, But there's like a lot going on. It's like this great long ass poem that he wrote. And I read a translation of it that had like rhymes, and it's miserable. I don't want to read 500 pages of rhyme. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. That's not fun for me at all. It's not. It's not fun at all. Shakespeare is fun. He does a lot of rhyming, but it's like, why, bro? Why are you doing this? It's so much work for you and for me. It's just like it's a whole ass play, bro. All rhyming. Why don't you do that? Just tell your story. Okay. Okay. Especially when I'm talking about a poem that rhymes, and I'm saying, why would you rhyme? It's so much work. Really beautiful stuff. But yeah, the end part about this is that I'm dirty. I'm proud to be dirty. We're all gonna be dirt in the end. And take that for what it is. That's how I feel about it. Take that for what it is, man. We're all gonna be dirty in the end. Moving on to Quake. Quake is fun. I think you will get a sense of the idea that I'm probably relating it back to Fire. If you had listened to Fire, I haven't talked about Fire in a podcast yet, but if you were to go back and listen to Fire, and if you were listening to the album straight up and you heard about Fire already, because Fire is the first track on the album, the first actual, thematic track on the album, I would say. The Elementalist is the first track on the album. That's like an introduction to like the theme of what we're going for and stuff. And then Fire happened, that's the first track. So, and now we're in Quake, we're talking about a flame, the world that flame breaks. And that's kind of like talking about, well, after Fire, and so it all kind of it's like talking to somebody, not necessarily the same person who is the fire in this case, but it is. Not necessarily, but it is, you know. And your house trembles while it quakes. Just remember the time when I was around the world of flame. So we're saying it's a fire. Fire's done, but this line is not about fire or anything being on fire. It's about the whole world being on fire. But you can easily show the parallel between that and then again in the next line where I'm talking about look back and see the flames, the ashes, the pain. In such a elementally driven piece, you have to hear flames and ash and go back to that first poem. I think it forces you in that sense to say, is he relating it to that first part? He probably is. So if you go back and you say, okay, well he's talking about a fire in this one, maybe they're related in some way. They are. So this one's saying, basically, look at you. You think the world is so great and so beautiful and so solid. But an earthquake can just come and take all your shit down. It can take your whole shit down. So, and then the idea of dirt at the end, you see the dirt for what it is, nothing but nothing but nothing. So now you're coming down to my level. You know what I mean? It's like the earthquake shakes down your whole house, and then you're down on my level. You're down on earth level now. You're down on the ground level. If a quake comes down and they shake down your whole house, you're on my level now. And then you're going to look at that dirt and see it for what it is, nothing but nothing but nothing. So the idea is that having nothing to, if you're down there already, it's free. If you've already dealt with that, when you get down there, like I said, sometimes when you have nothing, it's so freeing to have nothing. Like, and physically, it's freeing to have nothing too. Like I could leave. I could just leave. You never know. I could just leave. I don't got nothing tying me down. Now, does that come with some negatives? For sure. For sure it does. But it's very nice sometimes to just be able to leave. Be able to, but when you can't leave because you're stuck somewhere, because you're grounded down to physical thing, you know, it's not really great. So when your house comes crashing down and everything around you is dirt, literally that line is basically saying when you have nothing else, like when your house comes crashing down, you have nothing else, and everything around you is dirt, you're gonna look around and see it, all this dirt, and say, wow. But for me, you know, because I already have kind of come to terms with the fact that dirt is not bad. It's not a consequence of anything that I did. It's just life. Life has you down sometimes. Life will kick you and keep kicking sometimes. And you can't do a lot about it sometimes. So, when I'm looking at it, the dirt, you see the dirt for what it is, nothing but nothing but nothing. That line it's freeing for me, but for someone else who hasn't been through that, it'd probably be scary to have nothing. But for me, I'm like, yeah, nothing, whatever. I can get it back. Like I said, I've probably said it a couple times in the podcast already, but I've started my life over so many times at this point. I to swipe at a mosquito. I live in the Caribbean right now, so mosquitoes happen. They're all over the place. But they did spray recently, so they got most of them out of the area, God bless. I haven't seen a lot of mosquitoes, but when they happen, I gotta deal with them because they fly around. They're annoying. It's not even about the disease that they bring. It's just that they're annoying because they fly around in my face. I have ADHD, so if something's flying in my face, I can't concentrate on nothing else. Okay, you have to die because you're literally in my face and you're the main target right now. All I'm focusing on is you. It's it's a zooming in. I mean, I'm good at catching them, so that's good. But I don't even think I caught that one. But I usually am pretty good at catching. You know, I'm sitting down right now, so it's kind of hard. I don't have like a lot of range to kind of come in with a slap. I could basically do that. I can't really come in with a hard slap. You know, I can't move. I can't position myself at all. I basically like one go, and then fly away, or I get it. That's it. If I'm recording, when I get up and I can like move, very easy to get a mosquito. Um, but yeah, it's basically kind of like that idea where you're sitting there and looking at it, and you're like, wow, bro, I don't have anything left. And for me, after not having a lot my whole life, literally being at rock bottom 3, 4 times, it's free. It's free. It doesn't bother me anymore. Well, first of all, it doesn't bother me anymore to have nothing. But also, it's also a freeing feeling to not have anything as well. But somebody who is their first time, it's your first time here, right? Skyrim. It's your first time. Oh, oh, that's fun. Good luck, you know. Um, and then if this is your first time, or this is like something that you're not accustomed to, then like I said, that line, you see the dirt for what it is, nothing but nothing but nothing. When I hear that, it's free. But for somebody who has a lot of stuff, if it comes crashing down, they wouldn't see it as free to be in the dirt, but I see it as free. But like I said, it's all about coming down. You have this great foundation, but when it comes down on you, then you're like, oh, oh, this is how life is like down here, huh? But for me, I've already been down here. I've been down here the whole time. So, yeah, that's about it on the themes. We ran very long. That's like 40, almost 50 minutes here talking about the themes. And we're going to go back in later at some point. Probably today, maybe tomorrow. Honestly, I spent all weekend not recording. I spent my weekend doing a couple other things. Mostly playing League of Legends. I'm not going to lie, but there's an event. When there's an event on League of Legends, I play some League of Legends sometimes. So I was basically playing League of Legends all. And that's why my wrist is, that's why I had to put on the wrist brace for a little bit. It all comes full circle. Yes, I know. I didn't do any recording this weekend at all, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I gotta face my shit out. Literally, I'm the type of person I could work all the time if I wanted to. And sometimes I literally just gotta be like, I ain't doing shit today. I ain't doing nothing else today, bro. I'm done for the day. And that's a nice, to be able to just be like, I'm not doing anything today, that's a nice thing. And I really, really appreciate the life that I have right now because of that. But at the end of the day, I do like working. I do like, especially when it comes to creating stuff, I do like creating stuff. So it is kind of hard for me to kind of say, oh, this is okay. I just want to sit down and do nothing for a couple of minutes so that the mosquito come back now. I'm going to get him, but I'm going to get him off camera, off of this recording session right now. So I'm gonna end it here. Um, yeah, we'll be back in just a little bit with the more technical evaluation of the poem, where we talk about technique and words and why would you put that word in that place. And I think, like I said, I've been really enjoying the podcast this way because one, the sections make sense to me, and two, it's fun to talk about it in these terms for me. It doesn't feel like work. It maybe should feel like work because I am working right now. I am producing something that is something that I enjoy still, but it should feel like work. So the work ethic has to be there. But at the same time, sometimes too much work ethic is not great. So, cause then if you work too hard all the time, you get burned out. You don't want to burn yourself out and stuff. That's why I basically took the whole weekend off. I didn't do anything, just relaxing. I did some gaming. I don't think I did any recording at all. So that was nice though. It was a nice time to not record. You know what I mean? Just relax, bro. Take it easy for once. Take it easy. Give yourself some levity and some grace. Just be like, you know what? I'm not able to work 24/7. I was able to work 24/7 back when I was in the States. I did it all the time. Now, should I be doing that? No, you shouldn't. It's not healthy. It's not healthy to work that much. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Especially when you're broke, which is what the poem's being about. The poem's about being broke, being poor, being on the bottom, and dealing with that. Dealing with that part of life where you're like, damn, could things get any worse right now? I don't know. Do I want to test it? No, I don't. I really don't. But can it? It probably could. It usually can. There's usually ways, Usually ways that it could get worse. Whatever it is, it'll probably be worse. Not taken away from anything that anybody's gone through. But if you're not dead, technically speaking, things could have turned out worse for you. If you enjoy life at all. if you think that there's a chance that you might enjoy life in the future, even, then technically speaking, the worst thing that can happen is death. But like I said in the poem, death is the idea. It's freeing too. You know what I mean? So it's kind of scary to think about it that way, but death is freeing. That's what I mean in the poem. When you don't have anything, especially when you don't have anything, then death is kind of like death is a freeing idea for you when you don't have anything. So yeah, we're gonna end it here on that really weird and morbid note. But I don't think it's really morbid too much. It's morbid to talking about death, but the idea that it's freeing and yeah, no, that's pretty morbid. That's probably as morbid as it could get, right? That death is a freeing idea. But I mean, in terms of like if you don't have anything, and in terms of like the dirt motif that on the bottom already, so the idea of death being freeing is not necessarily to make it enticing. It's meant to say, well, if I die, then whatever, right? It's out of my control. It's not something that you should be worried about. I don't think it's not healthy to worry about it. To sit around and say, "Oh, I'm gonna die one day." I don't think that's really healthy. That's not healthy. That's not how you should be at all. So yeah, and here at 53 minutes, 54 minutes. It looks like. Wow. Yep. All right. We'll be back with the next part of this in just a bit. Just a bit. Tiny bit of time you have to wait. For me, it might be a couple of hours till I get back and record this. I might record it next part tomorrow, but for right now, it's looking like hopefully gonna knock this out today. I'm gonna go back, listen to this, and then yeah, we're gonna talk about it just in a little bit for y'all. Alright. Later. Bye y'all. Alright, and we are back with part 2 of episode 7. And yeah, we're just gonna jump right into part 2 now. Having a weird morning today so far. Not a weird one. I just woke up super early and I played a video game. I'm playing Disco Elysium. I beat it today. That's pretty good stuff. And yeah, now I'm recording the podcast. I just woke up and if it's that early in the morning, I can't really do a whole lot. I can't make a bunch of noise or nothing, so I gotta play with my headphones on. I can watch YouTube, but I just felt like gaming, and I actually ended up getting through like the whole end part of Disco Elysium this morning. So that was kind of fun. Overall, pretty good experience. Like I said, I'll talk about that another time. But yeah, that's a talk another time for sure. But anyway, back to the poem, Earth, Rock Bottom. What are we talking about in Rock Bottom? I said again. We are talking about the floor rises quickly. Could you ever thought it was possible? Gravity rides everything down to. It sits on your back and pushes, and then you were there on the floor. I like this one a lot. I do like this one. It's a nice introduction, kind of like a start to the piece. It kind of takes you in a direction where you are setting up for the rest of it. Does that make sense? It kind of sets the mood for it. You know what I mean? Like this is a very good mood piece. The floor rises up quickly if it's always possible, and it's all these questions, right? It's like everything's very uncertain here at the beginning, and then you start asking yourself those questions, like quicker than you thought it was possible. The floor rises so quickly, quicker than you thought it was possible, but gravity rides everything down too. So it's coming from both directions. You see the up and the down forces, kind of contradictory there, but it's both. You know what I mean? It's both those things, and that kind of leads to uncertainty, and then you get on and you're more reading and you ask yourself all these questions at the end. And I would say this is more like you asking yourself questions, like how do you feel to have nothing to lose again? How do you feel to have nothing? Is it comforting to know there's nothing else, or is it stressful to have nothing? Those are questions I think I might have asked myself at one point. Maybe you can relate to, if you ever feel like you've been at the bottom of anything. I feel like you can relate to that, asking yourself questions, or just the idea that, you know, is it possible to lose more? You know, and you're asking yourself these questions about it. Um, I think that's an interesting thing, because it sets up a lot of uncertainty for stuff that's moving forward. And I think that that's the theme of it, I want to say, but it's also related to how I wrote it too, because everything's kind of uncertain here. Everything kind of shifting. It's a shifting of, it's a shifting of, um, character. Honestly, if you want to say that, it's a shifting character that you kind of have to ask yourself these questions, and then you start off with the what I said earlier. It's like, you got it's coming from both sides, but you don't know where it's coming from. Could be coming from the top, gravity, or it could be coming from the earth. The floor rises up quickly, or is gravity pushing you down? Is the floor rising up? See what I'm saying? It's kind of like a contradictory idea, but both of them end up in the same spot. Boom, you're on the floor, right? So, and you were there on the floor. Now you're on the floor. Excuse me. And yeah, it's just very kind of like it sets up for the rest of it. We're talking about maybe things are constantly shifting around, but you're also at a pretty low point at this point. Um, so that idea that you are at a low point, the lowest you can go, kind of also ties into the idea of dirt, right? Because dirt is about the idea of you being kind of like low from the start. So if you look at the piece as a whole, I think you see that it's kind of a lot of different ideas, but the general theme of it is such that you know. So we're talking about the big theme to kind of explain each individual part, right? So the big theme of it is that you're kind of going through life just trying to kind of get a sense of what it's like to be solid, and what that could look like, and what happens when you're not solid. And like grounded is kind of that same kind of like uncertainty. It's like you're talking to yourself again, being grounded, to feel solid earth under your feet, to feel it under mine, no shifting, so I may sit grounded for once. I just want to be able to weather the storm. So it's just I just want to be able to. I'm not sure I can, so that I can be grounded. So the goal is to be grounded, but you're not grounded right now because everything's kind of shifting, like I said in the last piece. And the words on the page, like I said I said this earlier, in when I was talking about the theme, is that you kind of branch out, and you kind of bring it back down to be grounded. So it's like boom, 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 grounded, 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 boom, 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 the ground. It did at the end. Um, so yeah, and it's kind of like I really like that last paragraph. Not only because it's super clever and I thought of it, you know what I mean? I'm not only just tooting my own horn here, but I think it's really cool because it kind of shifts it up again. You're expecting me to maybe say grounded again, but what do? I pull the rug underneath. I pull the rug underneath your feet. And you're like, you see me in my house, my little house when you visit, and when you ask if it ever stops shaking, I'll tell you yes, the ground did. So, what does that mean? For me, and this is the interpretation that I'm giving it because I wrote it and I know what I was going for, it means that I'm still shaking, but the ground did. So, and when you ask if it ever stops shaking, I'll tell you yes, the ground did. But if I'm on the ground, and you can assume that I'm on the ground, and the ground is shaking, the ground was shaking at some point, and I was shaking with it. But because I said yes, the ground did, I specified the ground did. That doesn't mean that I'm not shaking. I don't think it implies that I am shaking because of that. And that's kind of like, that kind of is the like the gotcha point of that whole piece right there, is that at the end of the day, I can strive to be grounded, physically grounded, in terms of like physically, but overall, I could still have something going on, right? But also, but also, hey, but also now you could say that I'm grounded in, a physical sense of a house, but that doesn't mean that I'm physically, not shaking. And I think a physical shake of the body would almost imply that there's something emotionally, you know, kind of going on, almost. I mean, that's the way I would say it. I would say that that if you have a physical kind of house, and the whole time I'm talking about getting grounded, and I'm talking about, I'm I'm definitely, because I'm relating it to, okay, when the lightning strikes, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me at all because I'd be grounded. That's like a physical kind of like, the words kind of describe like you're in a house, especially the lightning strikes idea. The wind blows hard enough to knock down power lines. I'll be safe, grounded. I think you kind of get the idea from those words that I'm talking about a physical, like a house or even an apartment, somewhere of shelter. So when you say grounded, just thinking about the idea that, grounding is kind of like how you stop. It's a safety for electrical appliances, basically. I know people know that off the top of their head, but like if you have a 3-prong plug, that third plug is a ground, and it basically limits the amount of electricity that can. It's just like a, simply put, the way I've had it explained to me. I'm not an electrician by any means, but the way a ground works is that, it just kind of limits the amount of electricity that can pass through stuff. So it's like a fortification. That's why it's only on like high electricity appliances, because high electricity appliances pull a lot more electricity than a low a low electricity appliance. So in terms of like, if you have a power surge, those can short out your your appliances because it's a lot more power coming through. So you want that ground on there to kind of protect the appliance itself. So now that giving you the explanation of what grounded kind of means to me in the context of the poem, it's kind of, you can go back and say, okay, well now if we're talking about a physical kind of like a house, then it kind of makes sense that at the end when he says, I'll tell you yes, the ground did, we're not talking about, because everything else is about a house, and if you're talking about, I'll tell you, yes, the ground did. I think that implies that I'm still shaking because I'm not talking about the ground anymore. I'm not talking about the physical aspect of being in a solid building. I'm talking about something else, and I think if you can imagine that I'm inside that house and we're talking about shaking, yeah, the ground doesn't shake anymore. Doesn't mean that I've stopped shaking, and I think it implies that I'm trying to get him to imply that I'm still shaking, and I hope you can get that from that particular phrasing of those words. Um, Also, a lot of like weather talk in this one. We're talking about kind of like storms, and like I said, Earth is the antithesis of air. I said that. I think in the singing part, I'm pretty sure I said that Earth is kind of the antithesis of air. So when we're talking about lightning strikes and wind blowing, we're going back to that tornado hurricane motif, because lightning strikes are an indication of tornadoes, which I am very sure a lot of people are very well. If you weren't aware of that, if you live in the Midwest, then you already know tornadoes are lightning storm kind of spawn tornadoes, and hurricanes can also spawn tornadoes. But when we're talking about lightning strikes, you're probably thinking, okay, well, there's a tornado probably right by there. Or the idea is that we're talking about very unstable storms in this case. And like I said, air is about maybe a very unstable person from, God knows where. But so now we're talking about being grounded, and we're talking about it in the sense of storms. And it's like, yeah, I'm grounded, but I might not, I might still be shaking. Now, what are the reasons why you shake? Are you shaking because of fear? Are you shaking because of, uh, I think maybe it's the idea that you're shaking. Like, if you want to bring it back, the overall picture of it, you go back and say, okay, well, why are you shaking? Now, if I'm saying that this is the antithesis of air, you can maybe consider that, well, I'm grounded. The house is grounded. Why am I still shaking? And I think you can maybe ponder that for a bit. Why would I still be shaking if the house is grounded? Everything is fine, right? Well, moving on to dirt. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I feel like there are certain times where I can sit down and really, really say everything that I want to say, but I would be here for a year and a half on one piece of the puzzle, as opposed to being able to move on to the next piece of the puzzle. Dirt. Dirt is, and we're gonna get to the fun singing part in a bit, obviously, but the first part of dirt is definitely establishing kind of like a character, and it paints a picture for you with all these words. I live in the dirt, I play in the dirt, I bathe in it. I wear it as a mark of pride sometimes. You can almost see kind of like dirt kind of being smudged on a face. Maybe like war paint, you doing a war paint thing, or you put it under your eyes and maybe make some type of a decal, like a design on your skin all over. I think that's how, and it's meant to show the comfort of being in the dirt for the speaker. Who's me in this case? Mostly it's about me. So if I'm saying I am probably talking about myself, you know? So, and sometimes when I'm saying you, I'm also talking about me. But those are very particular kind of like connotations. Like if I'm saying you, I'm usually asking myself a question. Like earlier when I said, how did it feel to have nothing to lose again? How did it feel to have nothing? I'm asking questions here, but it's kind of like quicker than you thought was possible. You know, the floor rides up quicker than you thought was possible, and that it sits right. It sits on your back and pushes, and then you were there on the floor, barely able to move, barely able to breathe. The you is kind of like me setting myself up to ask myself questions. It's you, but it's also I'm talking about me. But when I say you, I'm trying to set myself up to be able to ask myself questions. You know what I mean? Like it's coming from my psyche, and it's asking another part of my brain, "Hey, how did it feel to have nothing to lose again?" Almost kind of like I'm taunting myself, right? But not really. It's not really like a taunting poem. So here I'm talking about I. It's more of a declaration more than a question. Um, so that's fun, I think. But mostly I just wear it. It covers my clothes and the ground I walk on. We are and will continue to be on. So, and then we get the we motif between me and the dirt, right? Because then everything else is I, and then I say I'm so comfortable with it. We are, and we continue to be one, and then we get to the fun part. Probably the most fun part of the piece, I would say, by far, is the singing part. We all go back to the dirt in the end. We all go back to the dirt. And like I was saying in the first piece, I was gonna go for like one of those nursery rhyme kind of like vibes to it. I think it comes off, especially when I'm singing it like that. I think it comes off. That's like that nursery rhyme kind of vibe. Where we're talking about something super dark, but it's like London Bridge is falling down. We're talking about a bridge falling down, but it shouldn't be that joyful. It shouldn't be that upbeat and kind of like it shouldn't be a nursery rhyme. What I think, but hey, we're getting the kids to talk about plagues and we're trying to talk about um bridges falling down. So that's like regular. That's like Victorian. That's what they did. That's how people live. Like they lived like that back in the day. Can you believe that? That they lived like that? Like that was their life, their everyday life. So they just gotta suck it up, buttercup. I don't know. What were they doing? What was that? There was nothing else to do back in the day, though, right? There was not a lot. There was a lot of like, entertainment. So they're all singing songs to each other. It's just the most morbid fucking songs you could think of. I guess. I don't know. I don't know why. Why would they do that? Doesn't seem fun. Does it seem fun to you? No. Is it a fun poem? No. Is it fun to sing? Yes, it is. Is it fun to talk about? You best believe it's fun to talk about too. But let's kind of look at the words. We all go back to the end, and we all go back to the third. I I really like this. I think this is probably one of the strongest kind of like thematic pieces I've ever written. But the rhymes are nice too, and it's like a song, you know. It's like a solid sounding song to me in my head. I don't know if it sounds like that to everybody else, but I think it's pretty solid. You see what I did there? We're talking about earth, talking about solid, talking about the ground. Solid, rock, solid, rock solid. You see what I did there? You see the way I did it? Uh, this way, yeah, cannot take control. And I didn't even talk about that part of the 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 poem yet. I didn't talk about fire yet, so you don't really get that line, I guess, if you just only listen to this particular piece. But I have an album, and part of the album is fire. The first track on the album is fire. It's talking about a fire, and one of the lines is, "You see the way I did it? This way, chaos cannot take hold." Um, so, and like I said, in the next part, quick, there's definitely a throwback to the flame, especially when you're talking like an elementally themed idea, you're talking about a flame. At this point, if you listen to the album back to front, front to back, you've already heard fire. Is he talking about fire again when he talks about the flame? Yes, yes I am. But let's get back to this piece. I'll go back to the earth. You all back to the earth. We all end up in a hearse. Take us back to the ground. Make sure we are found. We will grow out of the ground. No better fate around. I like that because it's kind of like I I think like the repetition of the words is makes it easier for people to sing along, but also it's very much like like I said, it's like it's written in the style of like a nursery rhyme, and it's like a dark theme, but I think the takeaway is kind of like not dark. It's like you're supposed to be okay with losing. You're supposed to be okay with being on the bottom if you get there because you're there. That's where you're at. How can you not be okay with it? You're already there, first of all. So if you're not okay with it, then what's wrong with that? But also, it's talking about death, right? It's talking about, we all end up in a hearse, but death is only not, that's only bad if you look at it in terms of like true death. I think this is a death, but we're definitely talking about a rebirth in a different form because it's talking about we will go out of the ground, we will all be dirt in the end, no better fate around. So it's like when you die, you decompose and then you turn into dirt. And then something grows out of you know. So it's kind of like a rebirth. If you want to look at it that way, it's kind of like a rebirth of you because you're growing out of the dirt. So, and I would say if we're talking about rock bottom and that being the lowest you can go, well, it's only up from there on out, right? And then what are we talking about here? We're talking about being dirt and growing out of the ground. I think that's similar. Hopefully you see that too, where we're talking about similar ideas there, where we're talking about, well, you're on the rock bottom. How low can you go? You can't go any bottom than that. You can't go any lower than that right now. But and then we're gonna go back and listen to it again. The same idea, just reiterating the same idea in a different way. Where we're talking about, okay, well now that we're on the bottom, we're dead, we're dirt. We've already been turned into dirt at this point. Now we can build out of that. So it's kind of like the takeaway is that yeah, you could be dirt, but dirt is not bad because things grow out of dirt. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of that mindset is how I try to live. I try to live like that. I try to be that person who's like, you know what? Things are bad. Things can be really bad sometimes. And but that doesn't mean necessarily that it's the end. Even, like I said, we end up in a hearse, but you still grow after that point. You might grow into a different form. If we're talking about like more like a spiritual death and rebirth, then that might be inspiring to some people. Or we might just be talking about, a physical death where we're actually dying, but it's supposed to give you hope in that case. If you're thinking about like a physical death, it's supposed to give you hope and say, well, I'm dead, but that doesn't mean that I'm like me as a person, as a human being, I might be dead, but I can always come back and talk about something else. I'm not answering that. My mom's calling me on the phone for some reason. I'm trying to do a podcast, but I'm trying to work right now. But I'm gonna have to pause it, I guess. Let me just stop this real quick, and I'll be right back. Sorry. Alright, so my mom literally she called me on the phone and she's like, "Can you bring me a malt?" And I'm like, "What?" She's downstairs, sitting at the table. We have like a little table outside. So she's sitting at the table outside, and I come downstairs and say, "Oh, she's feeling a bit lightheaded." I'm like, "You know what? You know what you could have done? You could have just gotten it yourself." And I had to tax her some of the malt because she can't even be drinking all that sugar, bro. It's a very sweet drink. But I digress. Here we go. We're back. We're back here. We're gonna keep talking about this piece over here, bro. That's what we're here for. Um, let's move on to the next piece. I think I got the idea that I was going for. The whole is talking about the motif. Also the rhyming. Yeah, it does rhyme. It's a song. Songs rhyme. The rhyming scheme, like I said, I was going for like a nursery rhyme. So those kind of have to rhyme. It's in the name of the and I think it's very simple. I don't make it. It's a song, but it's also a nursery rhyme. So the rhymes are very simple. It's dirt, and friend, earth, earth and hearse are probably like the hardest. I mean, definitely rhyme, but they're not like using the same. They use the same vowel sound, but they don't necessarily. They don't end in the same letters, so they don't make the same sound at the end. But because hearse and it's all about the EAR in there more so than the TH and the SE, because the EAR is what makes that earth and the hearse sound more so than the TH and the SE. So more about the EAR. So that's why those rhyme is because you look at them and you're like, earth and hearse. Oh no, those do rhyme. You might have to like that sort of thing, and I like that I sang it so that people would hear the rhyme. Because if you're looking at it, if you're reading it, sometimes you might not get the rhyme on that, or you might have like a weird way of pronouncing these words. I don't know how you would even go about pronouncing earth and hearse any differently. But you might have a way of pronouncing it weird, but I pronounced it in the way that I think it should be pronounced. Not that I'm right, not that I'm wrong, but that's how I pronounce it. So that's how I want you to hear it in your head. I don't care how you pronounce it. I care about how you hear it. You know what I mean? So if I sing it, excuse me, it's the malt. It's the malt, bro. You can't blame me for that. You can't blame me for that burp. It's not my fault. It's the malt that my mom made me drink because she's diabetic and she probably shouldn't be drinking those at all. They are not very sweet, but there's definitely some sugar involved in the creation of the malt. So yeah, we're talking about the rhymes, and it's just like friend, friend. Well, it's kind of like a reiteration. I'm having a conversation with somebody in this case. Yes, we absolutely do, my friend. We will go back to the earth. I'm trying to convince somebody, and then it's like they say something, and I'm like, oh yeah, be prepared, my friend. We all end up in the earth, and it's like the repetition is nice because it's like I'm having a conversation with somebody and I'm trying to convince them of the facts. And I think the repetition kind of gives you that idea. You know what I mean? Because it's like I'm trying to hammer in the same points over and over again. And we all go back to the dirt. We all go back to the dirt. We all become dirt in the end. Yes, we absolutely do, my friend. Oh yeah, be prepared. But you know what I mean? I'm talking to somebody. I'm singing a song to somebody and trying to convince them that this is one, what happened, and two, not that bad of a thing. And I think that comes across pretty well. Alright, let's get to Quake. Quake is fun. Quake is fun. It's more rhyming. If you like rhyming. this is the rhyming one too. Uh, Everything crashing down, and your house trembles while it quakes. Just remember the time when I was around the world of flame breaks. So that line right there, those four lines, when taken in together as like a whole thing that's going on, I think you can maybe say that it is kind of like, you know, trying to like a warning. I would say it's a warning for sure, right? It's like a warning, not necessarily a threat, because it's like we're talking about a quake. We're not talking about a person. We're talking about a force of nature. You know what I mean? And I think you can kind of gather the world of flame break. Like we're talking about, there's something about there that we're talking about flame. So, like I said, we were listening to the piece earlier, Fire, which is earlier in this album. You would kind of see that we're talking. Maybe these 2 points are related, and then just to hammer it home, if you missed it later on, we're talking about look back and see the flames to ash the pain. I think those two ideas will take you back to that family person, the fire piece, and you might be thinking, hey, is he talking about the same idea or the same person or the same concept? The answer is yes, I am. It basically because this piece is very elemental. So when we're talking about air, if we're talking about air in another poem, we're probably talking about something related to that poem. You know what I mean? Like in air, I talk about the maelstrom and what that looks like, and you know, that's all going on. But maelstroms are kind of like water storms. So then I kind of like say, no, that's not what we're talking about here. In this one, I kind of relate it to the idea of flames and a house breaking apart from a quake. So, and I think you kind of see that. And there are other ones too. I think light dark references light very at the end, like the very last line of dark references light, and then you get that sound effect too. Like I said, you should probably listen to the album. Go listen to the album. It's so good. I think it's so good. I think, and then I made it, so I'm entitled to say it's so good. You should listen to it, right? Like I should say that during the podcast, where in the space of the podcast, I'm talking about my work. I shouldn't be. I can say that unabashedly. You know what I mean? You should listen to the whole album. You should sit down, give it some time. Give it some time. Give it some time. Think about it. And give it a listen. Sit down. Enjoy yourself. Take the 20. I think it's 28 minutes total. Take the 28, 29 minutes. 30 minutes if you need a breather after. It's kind of heavy. 30 minutes if you need like a 2-3 minute breather at the end. Take a half hour to listen to the album. It's an enjoyable experience, but also it'll give you some context and all these things. Nothing's in a vacuum. You know what I mean? No part of my life is in a vacuum. I think everything kind of flows into the next piece, just because life is overlapping arcs and story arcs and people and ideas, and sometimes ideas shift from one side to the other, and you're thinking about it, and you're, oh, this is related to that thing that happened before. Oh, this is a repeating cycle of stuff that's happening to me, etc., etc. So I think, and that's why the kind of themes are intertwined throughout the album. I try to point it out, and at the end, when I talk about all these, I'll go back and kind of give like a nice synopsis, a kind of, you know, a finisher, if you will, over the whole album and the themes and what I wanted to more discuss about it in terms of like the whole thing. You know what I mean? Because the concept is big, and I think it's very easy to miss out on the big picture of it, that this is one person and these are individual pieces of one person. Like I said, it's the elementalists we're talking about. We're talking about a, a being, a physical being, and all these powers are related to him or her or it, if you want to be, you know, unspecific about it, which is fine for me. I don't care. I don't care what you call me, honestly. At this point in my life, I've been called so much shit. I've literally been called shit. So, I mean, do what you will. You're not gonna bother me. You gotta say some crazy shit to me to get me mad. Like, you gotta cut me deep. You gotta be like, I hate how I hate the decks that you build the Magic together, and I think they're bad. Like that wouldn't cut me deep, but because that's like I don't even play Magic anymore. Not that I played a lot of Magic when I was younger, but the thing is, something like that, you gotta be like very personal and very like added up. Like you gotta cut something that I actually care about. Like I don't even know. I can't even give an example. I'm good at insulting myself on the fly. Like when I make a mistake, I'll literally like rip into myself for like a couple of minutes sometimes. It's like you should read the fucking words on the page. You should read the words on the fucking page, you fucking moron. Just read it. All you gotta do is read. You can't even read? You literally can't even read, huh? What's wrong with you? You wrote all this shit and you can't even read it off the page, huh? You special, huh? You different? That's how I talk to myself. I would never talk to anybody else like that, mind you. I'm like I'm like the most like I ask people how I talk to them. If I like you, I'm very nice and very pleasant all the time. But if I like you, I never try to put anyone down. I always try to be I always try to be a joy bringer because it's so easy to put someone down sometimes, especially if they're already down. You know, it's so easy to put someone down. So why not try to bring them up? That's a lot harder. It's a lot more challenging to bring somebody up than it is to bring them down. Think about it. If you want to be strong, bring somebody up. Don't bring them down because bringing somebody down is easy. You just pick at things that bug them. Especially if you're close to the person. Holy shit! You know how easy it is to chop down a friend who confides in you anything? That's the easiest thing to do in the world. It takes no skill, no effort, no strength, no strength of character, no strength of person to break somebody down. But if you can say, "Hey, you're actually pretty good at this, and I wish you were doing this more often." If you can say that and mean it, and the person understands that, that is so much. There's so much power in those words, and it shows that you're a powerful person. But when you try to bring someone down, you're showing that you're weak. You're the weak one in that case. It's not me, because you're taking the opportunity to lower someone's energy, which is easy. It's easy to be mean. You just say some mean shit. It's easy to be mean. It's harder to be thoughtful and nice. And I think that shows real strength and real strength of character in it. What I say about tangent. That was a good one, but we gotta focus back in because this poem is a lot of fun. It's rhyming again. It's not a song. It's not like a nursery rhyme. So the rhymes are a lot more diverse. It's not like we're picking three sounds and rhyming around it. We're telling a story still, but we're rhyming because the flow I think works better for this one when you rhyme it. So down, around, quakes, breaks, two, blue, all fall down, and so that next paragraph is not a lot of rhyming. I mean, most of it rhymes. Just the first two lines don't rhyme. And when your house comes crashing down and everything around you is dirt, you look back and see the truth in all of those you hurt. So those first two lines, we go back and it's slower rhymes. Like we don't rhyme the line 1 and line 3 because it's like that way it sounds like line 1 and line 2 are like connected, and line 3 and line 4 are connected. Like it sounds like one. Even though it's two lines, it sounds like one line when you read it because you're literally gonna stop at the rhyme and pick up on the rhyme. So it's like two lines as opposed to four lines in that case. So, because everything else rhymes. So if I wasn't rhyming every other line, and then it wouldn't feel that way. But because I'm rhyming every other line, and when your house comes crashing down, everything around you is dirt. You see, you'll look back and see the truth in all of those you hurt, and it sounds like two two lines as opposed to four lines because everything else is two line. Every other line rhymes in the first part. And obviously, we just change up the rhyming scheme a lot in this one. Because then at the end, we're going, look back and see the flames that ask the pain. Look back and see it all absolutely in plain. And then we just repeat the last two lines of the same line again. You see the truth for what it is, nothing but nothing but nothing. You see the truth for what it is, nothing but nothing. And I think the repetition is trying to hammer home the point, right? Like I said in the last piece, I'm using those same words because I'm trying to hammer in that point. So then at the end of it, look back and see the flames that ask the pain. Like I said again, when you see that flame, you want to go back and kind of think about flame. Didn't he just talk about fire and flames in the first poem? Let's go back and listen to that one again. Let's see if there's a connection that I can draw between those two pieces. It would make sense if I did it in order, but like I said, because the content of fire, it actually talking about a real physical thing that happened, like it's an event. I think you get that kind of sense of it being a real event when you listen to it. Then you kind of understand, okay, well maybe he doesn't want to talk about that right now. I think that's understandable, and that's what I'm going with. That's why I haven't done it yet. I might do it next, actually. I might do it next. I think we can do it next time. And then we'll probably do like one more week of something else, and then I'll do dark and light back to back because those are both interesting, very interesting pieces. I think dark is probably one of the more interesting pieces, but like I said, dark gonna be a sexy episode. Yeah, yeah. This is my sexy voice. You like that? You like that shit? Yeah. I only use that voice when I like you. If you hear that voice, that means I probably like you a bit. Right? I got a lot of voices. This is only one voice that I use. This is my speaking for 2 hours at a time voice. This is my streamer voice because it doesn't take a lot for me to just talk regularly. This is as regular as I think I like talking. At some point, we're gonna get into that part where I just go through voices, and that'll be a fun episode. Maybe I'll do that next week. Maybe that'll be the break. I'll just kind of fuck around with my voice and be like, yeah, well, yeah, or like, yeah, how are you? How you doing? You doing all right? What's up? What's going on? What is going on? Kind of like you know how they voice. There's one Dragon Ball Z dub. I can't remember if it was Spanish, but like I feel like it was like Piccolo's voice was like just super high for some reason. And I'm like, why would you ever? But it was like something like weird. Like it was like I think it was. I wouldn't say it was Piccolo voice. It was just super high for some reason. And it's like, why? That's not his voice. That can't be his voice. I mean, it could be his voice in Espanol, but it's not his voice in English. You know. So if we're looking at different languages, maybe they gotta change the voice, or maybe they just couldn't hire enough voice actors with that yeah type voice, that kind of like deep yeah type voice. You know what I mean? So I don't even know what I mean at that point. Yeah. So like I said, the theme is that of this piece is that we're talking about. It's kind of like a warning, kind of like a threat, warning, threat, you know. But we're talking about crazy. We're talking about like human. It's like because we're talking about big. We're talking about an earthquake. We're talking about natural disasters. We're talking about the earth opening up and swallowing shit. You know what I mean? That's not something that a human can do. Humans can affect it. And if you want to be crazy, you want to go crazy about it, then yeah, humans have been affecting shit. Look at the world that we live in right now. Look at it 100 years ago. Look at it 200 years ago. Look at the frequency in which natural disasters are happening. Yeah, you want to get kind of weird, kind of crazy about it. Yeah, we could talk about global warming. This is my fucking podcast. You can't tell me what to fucking do, bitch. My fucking podcast. Talk about global warming if I fucking want. But yeah, humans are not usually responsible for big global disasters. So in that case, if you're looking at the words on the page, you can say, well, is he talking about something that he would do, or is it something that, you know, just happened because it's naturally is the word happening. And I think because I'm using, you know, earthquake and, you know, the idea of an earthquake, it's not something a human would do. It's something that will naturally happen, you know? And when your house comes crashing down and everything around you is dirt, because, and your house trembles while it quakes, it's trembling because it quakes. You see what I'm saying? And then we come in the next paragraph, and when your house comes crashing down and everything around you is dirt. What are you talking about? Oh, we're talking about an earthquake, shaking stuff up, you know. And then we're talking about flames, and then we're talking about ash and pain and flames, and then earth and dirt. You know, it's all like these motifs of stuff that's burned, that, you know, stuff that is, you know, destroyed in some way. I think the theme and the words on the page kind of match up well here, because we're talking about dirt, we're talking about ash, we're talking about flame, and you know, it just works. It just works. Wow, that's the worst way to explain anything. Hold on, I'm gonna need some more of this malt real quick. Let me just finish this off. Delish. Delicious. I could use a sip of Wawa too, but I'm not gonna do that right now. I'll wait till the end. I'm almost done, right? I hope I'm almost done. I got not a whole lot to say left. I mean, I think I basically ran through the whole shit. I cursed a lot in this one. I curse a lot. I don't know. When it comes to me and cursing, sometimes they just come out like naturally, just to like. There's no difference to me in terms of like a curse and a non-curse. They're just descriptive words that I use naturally to describe a situation. So it's like if it's a shitty situation, I'm gonna say this is a shitty thing. You are a piece of shit. You are a fuckboy. So I'm not trying to insult anybody there for sure. Not related to the poem at all. God no, not related to the poem. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta say what you gotta say, and I'm. It's really hard for me to be like, I'm not gonna curse, cause probably the next couple of lines I'm gonna say is, "Well, fuck." You know what I mean? That's what's gonna happen because that's how the brain is wired. You can't put restrictions on it. Once you put a lock on it, it's always trying to break it. I think. Let's say you say you're not gonna do something, unless you internalize it willingly, you're always gonna try to break that lock. That might be some life advice. Habit breaking is hard. It's really hard. But I tell you, the most direct way to do it is really to be like, hey, I'm not gonna do this thing, and then just not do it for a while. Change your habit. But the thing is, it's even easier to replace a habit than it is to break a habit. So let's say you want to stop eating ice cream. Whenever you hear ice cream, have an apple, and then because you're not breaking the habit. Your habit is to eat something when something happens. Like there's a trigger there. You're just trying to rewire the trigger as opposed to like cut it out completely. Because the trigger is the hard part to break. What you do during that trigger is a bit easier to kind of adjust. If that makes sense. At least this is my own personal experience. So this is how I basically stopped drinking. I said, hey, at this time I'm gonna drink. I woke up, I'm gonna drink this time. I said, hey, you know what? Instead of drinking, I'm gonna go do something else. It was a bit more complicated than that. But that's like for a future. That's for a future episode too. I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I think if you have any more questions, like I said, questions, comments, leave them. Leave them. This is already gonna be like a 2-hour episode, so leave the questions, the comments. I done talked about everything I want to talk about, but there's probably more things that I missed. That if you think about it and you have a question, you said, "Hey, is this a thing or is that a thing?" I'll write you a whole essay. I won't write you an essay on a YouTube comment, but I might address it in a later episode. Or if it's like a big theme that's something that somebody picked up on, I'd be like, "Oh wow, yeah, that deserves speaking on an episode." But if it's like a short, hey, did you mean this when you said this? I'll probably be like, yeah, here's a little explanation behind it. And I could do that in the comments. But if it's like a big theme or something, I'll probably address it live. Not live, but, you know, on different format. I do it in like a verbal speaking format as opposed to a format where I'm like, hey, I'm just going to write it down real quick on a YouTube comment. I'm going to respond to a YouTube comment with a comment of my own. Hopefully the comments are not that wild. I'm like, hey, I gotta address a comment with the whole episode to one comment on YouTube. Hopefully not. But anyway, this has been fun. This has been a fun walkthrough of Earth. Like I said, it's kind of nice to sit down with these because I basically did the album, finished it up, and like I like listening to it a lot. I do like listening to it because it's work that I did, and I'm proud of it and I love it. But also, it's something it's something like it helps me kind of build for the next project when I'm listening to this stuff and what did I do that I liked? What did I do that I didn't like? And it helps me listen back. And one thing I do a lot is I reread my poems a lot. So like all these poems, I literally sit there and I probably read through them at least 25 times each. And they're short. You know, it's like not that long to read them in my head, especially because I wrote it. So it's not like a, but like let's do that. Let's say I just finished a poem. I would literally sit there and read it like 5 times, and then I'll walk away from it. If there's like a grammatical error, I'll normally change those on the spot. If it's like a spelling error, I'll change those on the spot. But everything else, I'll let it sit for a bit and then I'll get back to it at a later date. It's easy to do that with a poem, because like a shorter poem, because you can read it in a couple of minutes, you know, reread it 5 times in 10 minutes and then leave it alone. And that's one thing I like doing. This is a pro tip right at the end. Right at the end. See, that's why I got to listen to the whole episode. Because sometimes I'm going to think of shit during the episode. Sometimes I'm going to start right up and say, hey, this is what I was thinking about. But this time I'm talking about at the end. This is a process. This is a tip that I use myself to kind of, when I'm writing stuff, I will literally write it, read through it five times, and then I'll fix grammatical errors. I'll fix, but I don't change words a lot of the time unless it makes no sense. And I'll be okay. Let's make this make sense now, so that when I read it back in a couple of days, I'm still on the same page with it. You know what I mean? But usually I'll sit down with it, read it 5 times, let it pass the day, forget about it, let it sit for a whole day. And then I'll go back in a couple of days and say, okay, let's read that again. Let's see what's going on here, in a different mind state, in a different brain. Because a lot of it kind of has to do with the idea that sometimes writing is exhausting. Sometimes it's not for me. Sometimes I could really sit here, write on my phone, and then go right back to work, have no problem. And sometimes I write some of these and I'm like, I gotta go take a walk around the block, bro. Because some of those are super intense and they take like emotional energy out of me to finish writing it. So for those type of pieces, I'm like, you know what? I gotta take a little break. I can't sit here and do this shit. I definitely have to take a little break. I gotta walk around the block, do something. You know what I mean? So that's the idea of that. Sometimes you gotta give yourself space in between writing stuff to kind of allow yourself the ability to edit, ability to reconvene, and give yourself another chance to kind of look at it from a different space before you make edits. Like I said, just talking about big edits. I'm not talking about like, oh, I misspelled a word, or there's grammatical errors that I don't really like in there. Because there are grammatical errors all over the place. If you want to talk about grammar, grammar is for very colonial. Like, oh, you're doing this the wrong way, so it's wrong. No, that's what I meant. That's the way I said it. That's the way I want it to be said. So, it's not wrong, because that's not how I wanted it. I wrote it that way for a reason. Now, it may sound wrong to you because you don't understand it. Now, if you don't understand it, just say that. But don't say that it's wrong. I wouldn't go around and say, oh, well, I don't like how you phrased that. It's wrong. Because that's what it sounds like to me. Because if I wrote it in a certain way, I want it to sound that way. If I'm presenting it in a certain way, that's the way I want it to sound. I don't want it to sound like proper sometimes. Maybe I'm painting a picture that you're missing. Maybe you have to go back and say, hey, maybe he's doing it on purpose. Maybe he knows what he sounds like. Like I said, I've read through this shit more times than you would probably ever read through. I've read through all of my work. I've read through it more times than anybody else will read through it. I've listened to it more times than anybody else will listen to it. Believe me, I have. Whatever it is. Unless you're like a super fan and you're like bumping it nonstop, like Elemental is on repeat, bitch. Let's go. Unless you're that person, and even then, I'd probably listen to it more than you. So, if there was something wrong with it, I probably would have caught it at this point. You know what I mean? If I didn't, if I thought that there was something wrong with it, there might actually be something grammatically wrong with it. But I assure you, if it's out there in the world, I've probably read it over a couple of times. I've probably understood what I'm saying there, and you might just want to look at that as being, you know, not a bug, more of a feature than a bug. If that's what use a computer analogy today. Fuck it, yeah, we're gonna use a computer analogy. It's more of a feature than a bug. It's not a bug, it's a feature in this case. Yeah, that's it. We're done talking about Earth for probably at least a couple of weeks. Like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. At least for a couple of weeks. You know? Yeah. I gotta put together this episode. Like now, this is supposed to go out today. I'm recording this the same day. I'm hoping to put it out today, but then I gotta listen to it. I gotta record it, which takes the time it takes to listen to it is the time it takes to record it. So that's just how recording works for me right now. If I could just overlay this track on a video, that would be easy, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm literally, and there's probably a way to do that, but I don't know what it is, so this is what I'm doing right now. Yeah. In the meantime, but it's nice though, cause I could listen to it back again, and I could catch anything if it's like crazy long or crazy weird or crazy bad. I can catch that before I put it out. So it's like a last check type situation as well for me when I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. I caught that because I listened to it back a couple of times, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're done here. It's been fun. Love y'all. Bye. Oh. Have a good day. Love you. Bye. Forgot that part. Have a great day. You know what? Go go about and have yourself a great fucking day. Alright? Love you.